Hey, you fish freaks. Welcome to episode number 116 of the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed, your ultimate place, your ultimate source for all things kayak fishing. And special shout out to our show partner tonight, Dark Horse Tackle. If you love to uncover those underground fishing premium baits, under the radar baits from kind of small batch makers, head over to darkhorse.tackle.com. I get a box every month from them and I love it. And the lure of the week, Seth, ready for this one?
Yeah.
This is going to be from Swamp Pro. I actually met these guys at Bubblegum Bliss, but this is a 4.25 Power Glide. I met the owner at the Columbus Expo and down from Louisiana. And it's a nice fluke. It's got some pectoral fins on it. I know you can't see it. There we go. Used to having the camera over here. But what's interesting about it is the tail, where you can kind of keep the tail as it is, right? And keep it attached. It creates that flutter on kind of each jerk, allows it to glide slowly. And then you can break the tail just like that. And it's going to give it a little bit of action. So interesting. This is the Power Glide.
A little birdie told me that Dark Horse Tackle is going to be in Bassmaster's article in the upcoming week.
Wow. Is that little birdie happen to be your mouth? yeah. When you did the interview. Yeah, for 50.
yeah. And that birdie was me. I'm the bird.
Tweet, baby. Tweet. I love it. Celebrating a milestone tonight. The Wood Fishing Facebook page just hit 25,000 followers this morning. So thank you all who are part of that community over there. And one last thing, because I wasn't able to give this away 2 weeks ago, but our friends over at Uncle John's Cider Mill, who's part of the Yak Offs, he gave me 2 of these promo packs to give away. But here's the issue. You might live anywhere in the United States, but if you live anywhere in Michigan or going to be traveling to Michigan anytime in October, if north of Lansing, like an hour, right in the middle of the mitten, there's this cider mill. And I have a family pack. I got a $25 gift card. I got 4 tokens for wagon rides. I got 4 tokens for train rides. I got 4 tokens for, free glass of cider and free donuts. And so I got cozies, I got stickers for your kids, I got t-shirts. And all you have to do to win this, now if you live in California, please don't enter to the drawing right now. But all you have to do is write into the comment section, Chad sucks at fishing. And then you'll be entered into this. Now I know I need to everyone, I know it's gonna be hard not to write that, even though you live in California, but only if you plan on traveling to Michigan anytime soon. Chad sucks at fishing. And speaking of Chad, we're gonna have a fun little game tonight, Seth. Underrated, overrated with Chad Hoover. And so if you have something that you want to throw at Chad, I'm gonna do my best to try to keep him on track, right? And so maybe every 5 minutes or so, we're gonna change up the subject, and we're also gonna take some from those listening in.
We're gonna give him a little warning like this here.
Welcome, brother. Welcome. How you doing?
I've never purported to do anything other than suck at fishing. I just am blessed to get to do it more than most people.
So. Hey-o. There we go. Chad, I'm kind of pissed off actually, because right now I shouldn't be on a podcast talking to you. We should be in Michigan salmon fishing right now. But
you forgot to tell people we were doing that cider mill trip. We were supposed to be scheduled to go there. You had to go and have a frame breakdown on your truck, which was the first domino. And then I ended up having my truck crap to bed, and we kind of blew our budget and our time for making that trek. And then by the time we could reschedule it, the salmon run was going to be over. It was going to be too damn cold. And so it's not just something that you're throwing out there. It was something we were actually going to be doing. We should be there right now.
I should be sipping on cider, eating some donuts, and filling up this Yak Attack cooler bag with a crap ton of salmon. But instead, I'm editing
to make the trek home, to then go on the grill. Yeah. Instead, we're talking to Seth.
Hey,
about pink lures with a split tail. I was getting a little saucy there for a second. I was like, "Whoa, he's."
I saw that. I was thinking. I was like, "Wait, what are we doing?"
Man, don't zoom.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have a lot to talk about. And so, Seth,
Yeah.
At the end of like 5, 6, 7 minutes, you have a little button, this little ticker to give like a warning. Chad, this is 1 minute warning to land that plane.
Chad's 1 minute warning. So
we can change it. We can change it. I know we can go a lot longer in a lot of these topics, and we might. We'll see. Seth, if it's juicy, let it ride.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're like, okay, let's get this party.
I can pack the juice into a small package. In fact, there's going to be an exclamation point at the end of this sentence if we end up with enough time. So I'll try to be brief so that I can get the opportunity to have that moment that we talked about off air with the wild card at the end. And I think that the wild card is going to be one that a lot of people want to hear and one that a lot of people might need to hear. So,
now here's the thing. I don't know what that is. I asked him and he's like, nope, wild card. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this party started. Really quick, I have to make mention of it. Seth is in his office now. So I guess I'll start this off. Overrated, underrated. Seth, a giant stack of checks just laying behind him, just nonchalantly. You like that, Chad? It's like 25 first, second, third. How much, Seth? How much money you have wrapped up in those checks? Curious.
There's a good bit. These are from the last 2 years. So yeah, there's a good. I don't know.
I always joke. You like you budget in tournament winnings to like your monthly budget for your family.
No, for real. Like if I don't win, my kids don't eat. So I appreciate everyone getting like 5th, 6th, and 7th behind me so I can get this.
Chad, I think the number one thing everyone's been talking about this week: overrated, underrated. Hobie and Bass Pro. The hate that I've been hearing that, BPS is just going to destroy the brand like they do every other brand out there. So that sentiment, that lane, underrated, overrated, what do you got for us?
I think the merger is hope for Hobie, regardless of whether or not you agree with the acquisition, because there was literally no Hobie would the Bass Pro Shop was their last resort. They'd been up for sale for a couple years. They were basically running on fumes. The bank had seized control. And so for me, it's a positive that there is a brand to even have the discussion about, because the alternative was that there wasn't a brand. I think that if I'm playing the overrated, underrated game, I think that the hate is overrated because there's a lot of misinformation out there. For example, a couple of people wrote a long diatribe about how, well, even if Hobie does come to the United States, by the time they build a new facility and blah, 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 it'll be 3 years and it'll be so much more money and all this other stuff. Bass Pro Shop, through White River Marine Group and Tracker Plastics, also known as Ascend, already makes more fishing kayaks than anybody in the continental United States and North America, maybe even in the world. But they manufacture more fishing kayaks, recreational boats than anybody out there. Bigger than Lifetime, bigger than Pelican International, bigger than insert any name here. So the Hobie brand is being relocated there to manufacture and offer a premium brand. We know the story of Ranger. We know the stories of Skeeter. We know the story of some of the other acquisitions. And I really think that that's an apples to oranges comparison. Maybe not. Maybe it's an apples to like whatever those little weird apples that they grow in South America that are a tiny apple, or maybe it's a little apple to a big apple comparison. Because yes, Bass Pro Shop and the White River Marine Group has kind of scaled down some stuff to what people call squeeze out profitability. But the reason that they've done it is the people that were running the brands were running them at a loss or running them into bankruptcy. And then Bass Pro Shop had to come in and save them. So hate it, love it, whatever. There's a Hobie now because Bass Pro Shop acquired it. And I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt to determine if they're going to nosedive the quality, stagnate the brand, make a Hobie Ascend merger, hybrid, whatever. All of that is still kind of conjecture. I think that the one thing they're going to be missing is talented designers and people that can innovate, because if they had those, Ascend would already be innovating, but Hobie fired those people. Those people are gone. Those people have been gone for Hobie for a couple of years. So maybe, the Johnny Morris metroplex of brands has the resources to go back and find those people and bring them back in and add a little fuel to the fire. We'll see. I think the hate is overrated. I think that at least there's hope with the Bass Pro Shop merger. And I think that it's good for us as a community to not have an iconic brand, a once major player, if not definitely the number one player in the game, go defunct because of a private equity group that bought it and made a bunch of dumbass decisions and drove it into the ground. So,
Seth, what do you think? As an owner of one,
I know nothing of the business side of things like you guys do. Like Chad knows all that background stuff. I know really nothing of that, but I use one. I mean, I got a PA-12 and I love it. Like it's quality. And I had an issue with mine where I put a hole in the floorboard of it, and I got another one through my dealer in like 3 to 4 weeks, brand new one, and I got to keep all my stuff off my old one. So it's worked out well for me, but I know the masses of people, they've had issues. So, I mean, I like my kayak. I love it. I love being able to flip a fish in and it doesn't get out. It's a good rig for me, but I know nothing of the business side of Hobies like Chad does. So I'm going to lean on Chad's opinion when it comes to that.
Lean on it.
Do you think because you used to sell women's romance novels and there were in California that maybe those had some bearing on you getting?
Yeah, you're just going to drop that? You got to give context to that, bro. Like, you can't just drop that in here. You got to give context.
I'm asking you.
He didn't deny it.
Do you think that had anything to do with it?
There's no denial there. But hold on.
Did you just change 4 different colors of red in one?
Oh, it's amazing.
There.
What's that?
I don't know if you can see this.
Ooh.
Over 250,000 in royalties
from your romance novels.
From women's ghostwritten romance novels. I was a publisher, all right?
Do you feel like you got special treatment because of that?
Yes, I would say so, Chad. I think that had a lot to do with it. You're right. I think that had a lot to do with it.
Squirrel fishing's over here. Excuse me. Hold up. Back up. Back up.
We'll move on.
Wait, Seth sold lady love books in my hood.
They weren't spicy, Wolf of Walmart. They weren't spicy.
No.
They were Christian, ghost-written. I was a publisher. I didn't write them. There's no context by Chad, all right? Yep.
Thinking that hole. Oh, I love it.
Wait. Hold on a second.
But added no talent to it's what you're saying.
You can't put the one winner.
One minute warning.
No.
Get it all out.
No, overridden. Vetoed.
No,
the world needs to know.
I think we should move on anyway. I think what the world wants to plug in their brain is way better than anything we can.
100,000%. All right. Underrated, overrated. So Chad, I've been watching. We've obviously had conversations and we're business partners in a couple ventures together. But recently I've been noticing in a lot of your thumbnails and on your wrist, you were wearing a specific watch, which is interesting because when I was down there earlier this year, you're wearing an Apple Watch, right? And now you're not wearing an Apple Watch. You're wearing a Coros watch. Yes. I believe it's the Nomad, just like the one I am wearing. Underrated, overrated, and share what the crap it is and why you are wearing it and how it relates to fishing.
Well, as a lot of people in my inner circle know, I went through a major health thing and got past that. So now I've got to get my fat ass in shape. My plan is walking, diet first, get a good baseline going, get some of the bigger LBs off, and then add in some paddling, some cycling, some hiking, some other stuff. But this company reached out to us cold, just like a lot of the stuff. And initially I was just doing no, I'm not interested. If you're a YouTuber and you have a lot of followers, you get, hey, you want to sell this e-bike, you want to sell this energy drink, you want to sell this, you get probably, I don't know, 1,000 to 1 things that you would turn down. I had just got the Apple Watch to start logging stuff and tracking stuff and all this kind of stuff. And then I saw this and was like, oh, let me at least go, watch the demo video. And what I liked about this is it had outdoor specific stuff. And then what I hated about the Apple Watch that I spent way more money than I like to even admit on, over double the price of this watch, is the battery life sucked. Multi-day trips, if you're camping, if you're doing stuff like that, the battery just didn't meet the muster. So did a little bit more research on this. We set up a demo call with the gentleman that's representing it to influencers in our space. And I had a whole bunch of yeah buts, and he had answers to the yeah buts. So we were like, all right, cool, send us one. Took it out and tested it. And there were so many Easter eggs and Cracker Jack surprises after we bought the watch that we were like, dude, this thing is money. We've given them some feedback. They have taken it on board. In fact, we actually have a call with the product development manager tomorrow to make it even better. One takeaway from it that it's got, that because we're launching K-Fast and we're really starting to push this kayak fishing safety narrative very hard, and we're going to maintain a sustained promotion instead of it being, knee jerk after every crisis or whatever. There's a safety feature on there where you can hold this thing down, and it gives you an alert that you send to a loved one that lets them know that you're in trouble, and then it gives them your location and the whole nine. You can also share your trips through the app where people can see where you're at and where you're going. So you can start a trip, you can see where you're at on the river, and then it's got a logging feature that allows you to, easy, right at the tip of your finger, hit a voice record, put a note in there. Now you got this logbook with voice recording, so you don't have to sit there and type a bunch of crap in, so you can go back through later. So for pattern development, all that kind of stuff, I'm really looking forward to getting a hell of a lot more time on the water with it and getting a lot more trips under my belt. But so far, like somebody said, the Apple Watch was a little bit overrated for me. I liked a lot of the features, being able to answer the phone with it in your phone still in your PFD, the find your phone feature, the health tracking and all that kind of stuff. But this app does the same thing. It tracks your health. It actually interacts with the health tracker on your iPhone. So pretty much everything that that the Apple Watch does for less than half the price. And it's also got a lot of kayak fishing and outdoor specific features in it. So I'm a fan.
No, what I loved about it, I've been doing a lot of river fishing recently, and it'll track how long your float is, right? So you don't have to go to other maps and try to figure it out. It's got the battery is insane. Now, Chad, I don't know anything about Apple Watch, never owned one, but with this one, it's 22 days of battery life, 50 hours with all system GPS, 34 hours with dual frequency GPS. How does that even relate to the Apple Watch?
The Apple Watch is about a day and a half.
Okay.
One of the things the Apple Watch allows you to do is change the brightness and some of that other stuff. And I think having the ability to do that means that sometimes you brighten it up and then forget about it. And because it's constantly interacting with your Apple Watch for everything, it's sucking it down. And if you don't connect it via Bluetooth, then you don't have all the functionality. But if you do connect it, it's constantly going back and forth with your iPhone. So I think that's a big part of what kind of runs it down. This one doesn't have a super bright screen, but it doesn't have it's definitely viewable. And as you can see on there, you can actually kind of customize it too. Like I put this thing on there.
I'm vain. I put my own logo on as well.
How would these watches benefit us other than the safety aspect for fishing as far as
it's got trip tracking, it's got tides, it's got lunar times. Honestly, so far, I can't think of anything that I would want to put in a fishing watch that it doesn't have. Right.
Yeah. It's got forecasts, tide data.
You can set alerts.
I was going to say alerts. Yeah. Alerts would be a good one.
Like one of the things that I did on my last river trip is I set a waypoint for the takeout. And then when I got in and I put in the map, I started the kayak fishing trip and it was showing me going down the river, and it was basically comparing me to the takeout. So I knew how far I'd gone. I also knew how far I had left to go. Just had a quick reference. So
it'll sync to weather, like a weather app, like lightning alert, stuff like that.
It's got, honestly, I've only probably scratched the surface of 15-20% of its functionality.
Yeah, it's feature rich. It's really feature rich.
I'm actually going out tonight. Austin and I are going out after this. Not immediately, probably going out midnight and fish till daylight. But I'm going to have it on for the whole night trip just to kind of be able to look back and see where I went. It's got a cool move off feature. You can set a waypoint and you can determine if you're moving. So like if you've got an anchor and the tide's going up and down, you're worried about moving, or if you've got spot lock on or something, or if you just are in a place and you want to know if you're moving, you can set a waypoint and it'll tell you when you've drifted off of it. So you might think you're throwing to this brush pile, but you're not. So far it's got a lot of cool features. And like I said, we're just about to get started pushing it through the paces. They've agreed to let Daren and I do a couple of giveaways, which we'll talk more about in the future. But yeah, so far it's underrated because I love it and I would pay the price for it now. And I ain't even gotten I haven't even figured out all the benefits yet.
Yeah. So this is one thing I loved about it. I just finished up a river trip, and at the end, when you start catching fish after fish after fish, I always want to tell, like when I get on with my wife, like, hey, how many did you catch? And so it tells me how long I fished, how far I went, which was 7.27 miles, and I logged 22 fish on that river trip. So I was like, all right, feels pretty good. It's kind of nice. Every time you catch a fish, you just officially hit the button, log it. You can leave notes. You can sync it with photos, so you can really have a journal for it. It's pretty sweet. So someone asked a question over here about it. Who makes it? And you guys already answered that. So it's Koros. It's the Koros Nomad. Switching gears. Underrated, overrated. This has kind of been like hype central. And so, Chad, you've seen it in person, kind of, parts of it. The Flux Jet. People are like, they're writing me, telling me they got them on order. I already dropped my 3K. Now, I know because of the conversations we've had, you have some thoughts. You're the kind of a engineer, and so you really picked apart a lot of the engineering on it. So walk us through underrated, overrated, the Flux Jet.
Execution is going to be the key of the success of this thing. So I'm gonna divide this up into pros and nos. Okay. The pros are they're innovating. The pros are they got the marketing part down. Most companies don't know how to market for shit. So the fact that they've got that part kind of dialed in, leaving enough questions unanswered that it creates more questions strategically is pretty sweet, pretty smart. I think they're coming up on a tipping point where more and more information is going to be out there. So again, execution is the key. I've kind of passed my window of being able to go out and use it because, we were talking to them. They were going to fly out a bunch of influencers since they missed the demo window at ICAST. I was supposed to hear something back from them by the end of September for a late September, early October trip. Didn't hear anything. Saw that some other influencers went out there. So maybe they just chose to go in another direction. I don't know for sure. At this point, I can't go or couldn't go till after the national championship anyway. So, if they wanted to bring one to Alabama, I would definitely put it through the paces. Cons, the choice of an 11-foot boat is odd to me. I feel like at least a 12-footer should have been the minimum size to start launching a platform like this on. I feel like people are going to be a lot more cramped in the boat than they think they are. An 11-foot boat is really small. A 12-foot boat's small. You get into 12-foot, like if you look at the SS-127, it's 127. It's 12 foot 7 inches, right? So it's not 12 foot. It's almost 13. And that boat going from that to the PWR was a lot more room. So I can only imagine, like I look at the RS-117, which is an 11-foot 7, and I'm thinking cutting 7 inches off of that's a lot. It's a lot. The smaller the boat is, the more 6 inches matters, right? And so once you get sub 12, it gets kind of cramped. I think that they've done a good job on fitting what they can into an 11-foot package. So I definitely don't think that for what it is, and you're getting an 11-foot boat. I don't think as many people realize how small that is as they are. So that's one con. The second con is, like when you look at the screen right there, it's a little bit deceiving. 6+ miles an hour, but then 1,000 watts. if you think you can go 6 miles an hour with a 1,000-watt motor, I got some oceanfront property for you that I want to stay in Arizona. Because if you can get 6 miles an hour out of a 1,000-watt motor, we need to talk, because we need to launch another Tesla or SpaceX or something, because you shouldn't be in the kayak space. You should be selling something else. I think that 6+ miles an hour is probably capable when you look at the 5,000, kilowatt, right? If you look in that kind of a deal, I just don't think that you're going to hit that 6 miles an hour. Again, I am perfectly okay being wrong. I just don't think, from my experience and what I know about thrust and, hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, things like that, from both a career in aviation before I retired and, an education from Embry-Riddle in aviation, and then spending almost 30 years in product testing and design and all that kind of stuff in the kayak space. I just don't think they're hitting that speed with that motor rating, and you're going to need a bigger battery to get to that 6. And when you get into that bigger battery, you're getting into more weight, a lot of capacity. And they say that it'll go from 6 or from 12 volt to 60, volt battery. A 48 volt battery is a monster.
Yeah.
I don't
think monstrously expensive as well.
And it's monstrously heavy. You know what I mean? Even in one of the smallest packages that they make, even a 3660 is massively heavy. I think a 3660 is probably going to be the sweet spot. I think it'll probably get 3.5 to 4.2 just on rudimentary calculations. And cool. But is that a big game changer over, say, an Old Town Autopilot that's $4,000 with the motor and everything installed in it? You got to still buy the battery, just like you have to do with this one, but you got a bigger boat, a more comfortable boat, a better rigged out boat. So, and then probably the last con is, I fear, and again, I hope I'm wrong on this. I know there's a lot of people vested in this thing. A good buddy of mine just went to work for them to help them with messaging and branding. And so I want him to be successful. So I want them to be successful. But I fear they are doing what is known as prototyping on the consumer. And so there's going to be some potential early adopters that spend the money to make the company successful. But then the second wave, third wave people will benefit from their investment, and they will have paid for prototyping on the consumer. Again, hope I'm wrong. I'm totally open to being wrong and hopeful that I'm wrong. But if I'm asking the question and I'm being honest, there's more questions not answered than answered. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to put this one in the overrated category, because it's just hard to call it anything other than overrated when we don't have it fully vetted yet, if that makes sense.
All right. I like it. If you have any follow-up questions as Chad is talking, giving his rating, kind of rationale behind it, go ahead and throw that in the comment section. We might have already moved on to another topic, but it doesn't mean we can't spin back around. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next underrated, overrated. So I hear this a lot, Chad, and I love this specific lure. However, it's a very expensive lure, but my opinion, a very effective lure. And that is going to be the jackhammer. And like last year, it was like $17. I believe now it's like $20 or $21. It just continues to go up. The baby jack, although smaller in size, does not change the price one iota. However, also a bass slayer. So your thoughts, overrated, underrated, Z-Man's jackhammer.
Exactly right rated. Like
right rated?
Maybe underrated. The fact that people say it's not worth what they charge for it, in my opinion, means it's underrated. Because the only people that say that are people who've never fished it. Because once you fish it, you'll be a believer, And if you're a believer, what's your time worth? And if you're going to, I don't know what it is. It's like the Cinco, often imitated, never duplicated. There's not another vibrating jig on the market, even the ones that Z-Man makes, that and dude, we're about to go night fishing. I will go out there and do everything in my power. I'm going to throw the Picasso. I'm going to throw the Strike King. I'm going to throw the this one. And I'm going to throw that one. And I'll come back to the jackhammer. I caught that 22 right ahead of you that day. I had been trying not to throw the jackhammer. Pick the jackhammer up, threw it at this spot. Boom.
I remember I told you to throw it over there, and you did it, and you got your 22. You remember? I remember it like it was yesterday, Chad.
Yeah. Actually, what happened was I said, dude, can you turn that damn motor off so I can think straight and maybe catch a fish? And he said, all right, cool, dude. He turned it off, and then I eased forward with my quiet torpedo, made 2 casts and caught that fish. If we're going to talk about like what really happened. So yeah.
Just as a reminder, everybody, Chad sucks at fishing is what you need to write into the comment section if you want to win that gift certificate from Uncle John Cider Mill. Remember, Chad sucks at fishing. Go ahead and write that in there. All right, sorry, I had to throw that in there real fast, Chad.
No, I think they're right rated as well, and the cost doesn't really bother me because I don't know what most people throw them on. But mine's like 17-pound fluorocarbon-ish typically for what I use. And I just never lose them. I have the same ones from like 2-3 years ago. They're beat up, but I never lose them unless I get caught like somewhere where I can't get it to, but I never lose them on fish. I lose the fish sometimes, but they last a long time. And I use the ones that are beat up.
Here's how I would ask you to ask yourself if something's overrated, underrated, or the value's there. If we were fishing together, and you had been out there and you had driven to the lake, you had spent the money, you spent the time, you're on the water, you've done all that, you're vested, right? And we're halfway through the day and there's 4 hours left to fish. And I said, hey man, with 4 hours left to fish, if I guarantee you 4 fish extra later to the rest of the day, would you give me $1? Who's going to say no? Well, if you take a jackhammer, you're probably going to catch 4 or 5 extra fish every time you go fishing. So amortize that over 10 trips, and now it's worth $40. So if you don't think it's worth it, cool, don't fish it. That's just less educating the fish for those of us who are in the know. There's less of them to be. I wish they would raise the price to $45. Nobody would buy them, to be honest with you. Like straight up, you want to ask my opinion on it? And I don't have a relationship with Z-Man. Actually, I tried to work out a relationship with Z-Man. They offered me some like bullshit deal. So I just buy them because it ain't worth doing the bullshit deal to get the deal. So I just buy them. I buy them from American Legacy. I buy them from Guntersville Tackle. I pay the same price you pay. So,
and that deal, Chad, they don't even offer the jackhammers on that deal.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing is
they exclude the jackhammers.
They don't even discount the jackhammer
because
it's that good.
It's that good. They know it.
No, they're a staple. They're a staple bait. You got to have one or a few.
Or
you just don't lose them. Throw the appropriate poundage of line.
Yeah, just
not going to lose them.
In fact, I think a thicker fluorocarbon, when that bait is waving back and forth, I actually think the line itself waving, creates a little bit of an extra thump signature that actually produces more bites. Because the people think the chatterbait does this, the blade does this. It doesn't. It does this, right? Mm-hmm. So as it's swinging back and forth, it's actually slicing that line back and forth through the water, which is creating an additional vibration signature. So yeah, I literally had this conversation with somebody about a year ago. Oh, what do you think it's overrated? I said, no, I wish they would make them bitches $50. Mm-hmm. So nobody would buy them. And it would be like the best thing out there because only people willing to spend the 50 would have them. So yes, I don't think it's overrated at all.
A couple follow-up questions. The Baby Jack, same category?
Yes. The Baby Jack still is not the jackhammer. The Baby Jack is the jackhammer light. It's got a different vibration signature. It's got a different frequency. It's marketing. It's subtle. It's better for the river in certain cases. It skips a little better, and they come in lighter weight to head ratio to size. So it's worth having some. But if I had to choose the Baby Jack over the jackhammer, just go with a lighter jackhammer, the 1/4 ounce, and be done with it. Just
now, the science of it all. Do you think it's the frequency that it puts off, or what
100%,
else?
Yeah, 100%. It's the chatter, it's the thump, it's the flash. And here's the other thing. You were actually standing there with me at ICAST when I was talking to Bill Siementel, and we were talking about the whole window painting thing where fish and look up at a school of fish, and they don't see them. And then if you've ever been watching a movie or one of those underwater documentaries where they're scuba diving and you see this massive school of fish, but you don't see them, and all of a sudden they turn and they go in a different direction. You know what I'm talking about? And then you see all of them, and then as soon as they line back up, they turn into mirrors and you don't see them anymore. Well, that happens. What a jackhammer does is you're getting that blinker effect. You're getting dark light, dark light, dark light. You know, you're getting that 2 looks, the vibration signature, and there's just something about that frequency that they've hit that just triggers bass. Just is something about that specific frequency and that head being connected the way that it does, that you get the click, you get the clatter, you get the thump, and you get the vibration. It's all the things. Yes. You throw a little a trailer on there for a little bit better optics, and throw a little scent on there for a little bit of a scent trail, and you've literally created the perfect storm. And then here's the other thing. It's a jig with a blade on it. It's called a bladed jig. Fish that son bitch like a jig. Throw it out there, let it hit the bottom, and shake it. And the blade clicking actually adds more attraction to it as a jig. And that's a way underrated way to fish it.
Yeah.
It's a jig.
It's hard. It's hard to just toss that thing out, let it sit, and like pop it, because you always just want to crank it, you know.
Well, it is until you catch like 4 or 5 9s on it, a couple 10s, and 11.5, and then you believe in it. You build the confidence. You'll let that bitch. You'll soak it then. But yes, it's a jig. Think of it as a jig that you can make vibrate, and it'll fundamentally change how you think about it. A lot of people think of it as kind of like a spinnerbait with more thump. It's not. It's a jig with more thump.
So last question on this. Obviously, Z-Man makes a crap ton of money on these, so much so that they keep on coming out with different variations like every 5 seconds. They have the Baby Jack we talked about, the Micro Max, the Tungsten Chatterbait Elite Evo coming in at $18, just $2 short of the Jackhammer. They have the regular Evo, which is $9.99, which a lot of great fanfare. And then they have all these stealth blades and the OG and the Micro, the Mini, Project Z, the Weedless, the Big Blade, which I stole from you, Chad. Do any of these come close? I love the big blade. Any of these come close to the Jackhammer? How would you rate any of these, like top 3?
Almost all of them are marketing. The Mini Max is badass, but the hookup ratio kind of sucks because the hook is so small.
Okay.
But the Big Blade is so underrated because people are scared of it being so big. I'm about to go throw it for 6 hours. At night, it is a ridiculously bad. Well, for one, you can shut off any motors or paddle or anything. You just throw it out, and it's your damn motor. It's got so much. It'll pull you around, but it moves and displaces a buttload of water. Anytime the bluegill or the primary forage, it's got that thump. The way that a broad body bait has, like a bluegill, when it swims through the water, it's got a bigger body profile than, say, a shad or a minnow. So therefore, it creates a bigger thump. And I think the Big Blade comes the closest to imitating that, to put off a vibration that it's bigger than it is. But man, I've caught, I think last year, because I wasn't sick last year, we did a lot of night trips. I think I stopped counting at 15 or 16 8+ pounders that I caught on it at night. And I took people on trips that I said, here, throw this, throw it right there. And probably 7 or 8 people caught 8+ pounders, where I basically caught the fish with their hands by saying, hey, cast right there, here, hand them my rod, cast over there. And then they caught a big fish. So it is a absolute big fish producer. And I think sometimes in places with a lot of pressure, and at night especially, you get bites that even the jackhammer won't, because they haven't seen it. And it creates that big bite, that big bait feel. So it attracts bigger fish.
Yeah, something you told me when I was down on Gunnersville with you. You said, like, if you're getting a bunch of dinks, like, it's almost like a dink deterrent.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to get a ton of small fish. Your fish are going to be a little bit more sizable. Trailer, you like the Zakos?
Man, I have 2 favorites. Well, 3. My 2 go-tos are the Yamamoto Zako. That's my favorite. I think it just matches up the best, both the fork tail and the paddle tail. If I'm trying to cover water, fork tail. If I'm yo-yoing it, fork tail. If I'm steady swimming it and slow rolling it along the bottom, or if I want bigger bulk and lift so I can keep it going at a slower speed, then I'll go to the paddle tail Zako. The Missile Baits Spunk Shad is the most versatile. You can play around with the different sizes, so you can get different. Like, for example, if I want to fish it slower, to me, instead of going to the baby jack, I'll take the jackhammer and go to the 3.5 inch spunk shad. Instead of going down in size on the bait, I'll go down in size on the trailer, and I just you get a different action because there's less resistance. Or you can go up to the 4.5 or up to the 5.5, and you can get different action. And when I said third, the other one I like a fluke. A fluke is the most underrated trailer for a bladed jig that there is. So I fish them first like a fluke, and when I tear them up, I put them in a separate bag and label them fluke trailers, FT. I got like a code. And then I cut the nose off with a pair of scissors so that it's blunt in the front. When I feed it onto the chatterbait, it actually sticks the skirt out a little bit, gives it a little bit more bulk, and it just creates a little bit more of a waggle back and forth. And I can throw it out and let it fall, and I can kind of flutter it in a little bit more bulk, and that tail whipping back and forth gives it a little bit more, just a different frequency. So I really love like a green pumpkin with a 5-inch fluke with about a 1/2 inch of the nose cut off. That's a real deadly setup as well.
Yeah, love it. Hey, we have 56 live right now. If you haven't done so, hit the like button. Help get this thing a little bit of yardage afterwards. One last question. This one's not coming from me. It's coming from a listener, Jason Rearding. He has, what's your go-to color this time of the year for the jackhammer, Chad?
Green pumpkin, green pumpkin.
Boom, boom.
They are fishing. The drawdown is happening, so crawfish are moving deep. They're following the water, or I'm saying they're staying shallow, but they're following the water down. Bluegill and brim, which are the same thing, but depending on where you're from, bluegill are targeting those crawfish because it's high fat content, high protein, lots of mineral content in their shells, and because of that scenario, the bass are sitting back and keying on them, especially bigger bass. So to me, right now, the small shad are grouped up in little hand or bucket size wads. They're not grouped up in these 30 feet long by 17 feet deep by 18 feet wide schools yet, where a bass can swim through there with its mouth wide open and fill up, like like you're scooping a bunch of minnows out of a bait tank. And with the moon phase the way it is, and until the next full moon, bluegill and crawfish are just your better, higher fat content, higher calories, more you get more back in caloric intake than you put out. It's the law of I forget the word for it. I'm drawing a blank right now. It's the law of the amount of energy conservation of energy, the amount of energy expended for the amount of caloric value you get back. So to me right now, they're keying on bluegill and crawfish. So green pumpkin, or you can also throw like green pumpkin.
All right, but love it. All right, we're going to switch gears here. Moving along, underrated, overrated with Chad Hoover. Chad, let's talk a little bit about something maybe not a lot of people know about. The ACA.
Wait, we forgot to do my lures. We're supposed to do underrated, overrated. I did your lures and all this other stuff. I put some homework into this thing, bro. Come on.
All right, let's go.
I'm going to run through mine. And what's crazy is I'd already talked to Austin about this, so I'm going to give you his as well. The most overrated lure out there right now, and I'm going to lump them all into what I call scoping minnows. All the scoping minnows, whether they're from Crush City or everybody. I'm done watching videos. All right, so let me show you the new scoping minnow. And if you see these little fingers, and right there we got, shut up. It's a mini fluke. The damn 3-inch fluke's been around 4,000 years, and it'll work just as. Shut up. All right, first of all. And second, it is not a go out there and have as much success as these people would have you think it is, and especially if you don't know how to scope. So the scoping minnows is overrated. All these guys, shaking the fairy wand, live scoping.
Don't listen to Chad. They're not overrated. Keep going.
It's overrated for what it is. You can't just go out there and just catch fish on them, right?
That's correct. Very technique based.
It is so technique based, and when it works, nothing will beat it. Correct. But when it don't work, You can't force feed it to them. So again, it's like the Alabama rig back when the Alabama rig first came out. You're an Alabama rig, boy. No, nobody ever went out there and just threw the Alabama rig where there's no fish and caught them. So if you're not right in their face with the scoping minnow, you ain't catching them. So
that's great. That
was Austin's, and it's also, I agree with him. Austin's underrated was an underspin. I also agree with that, but I have one that's an underspin. Works when that scoping minnow won't. It's that extra little flash. It's that extra little something. It actually gets the bait fish to follow it. So then the bait fish are following it. Now you're fishing a school. You're fishing like a artificial Alabama rig. So when the predator takes off and the fish scatter, your lure's left. It's the like slowest one in the mix, and it gets eaten. Whether it's the owner style hook with an underspin on it, or it's a jig head with the underspin, the addition of that underspin. Because especially right now, since fish are looking up, most of the time when you're in a bait fishing pattern, and especially when they start keying on shad, they're more of a look up. The underspin is going to be super underrated. I don't think it is as much right now because, again, I think they're feeding on crawfish and bluegill, which means they're down kind of on the bottom and chasing them by wood and things like that. But we're right on the cusp of that shad balling up because every night it gets a little cooler. Every night the water temperature gets a little cooler, turnover starting to happen. It's going to wad those bait up. So that underspin will become the absolute jam.
Chad, on that Toledo Bend, I went and purchased a bait that I've never fished before. It was the 6th Sense tailspin.
Bro,
that thing looks fire in the water. Fire. Like, I didn't catch any fish on it because I was doing other stuff, but it looks so good throwing it out there. I'm like, this thing has to be dynamite on like pelagic bass and balls of bait, stuff like that. It looks so good. It was I think it's called the gyro tailspinner.
Gyro tailspinner.
Right, oh my gosh, thing. When I threw that, I'm like, that thing is beautiful in the water.
So last year, when we couldn't get bit on anything else, these things were money. They got a little bit of thick girth to them. They're a little thick. They're heavy. The tailspin allows you to reel them and keep them at a certain depth or just let them nosedive. Those things these are going out there tonight as well.
Yeah, those are fire. So yeah. Another underspin type of alternative too. But anyway, sorry to interrupt there. Keep going.
And what do they call BK Hooks has got a ridiculously badass underspin hook with a keeper on it and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be playing with that as well tonight. And then so that was Austin's underspins. Mine is a good old fashioned jig, kind of a little bit of like what we were talking about on the jackhammer and the bladed jig. Yes, there are bass fishermen that love the jig. The vast majority of bass fishermen use a jig, but I think it's the most underrated, underappreciated, especially big fish catcher.
Mm-hmm.
You can fish it on bottom. You can swim it. You can skip it. You can scoot it. A jig is the most versatile bait on the market. And what blows my mind is in a lot of discussion areas, I see people saying, yeah, man, I just can't get bit on a jig.
Yep.
Bro, quit. Like, take up something else. Like, get into golf or pickleball. I've heard pickleball is hitting off right now. If you can't catch a bass on a jig, like, you should leave everything else at home, take a box of jigs, and go fish jigs until you get your arm broke 3 or 4 times so that you have the confidence in it. But if you're not fishing jigs as a bass fisherman, 12 months out the year, you are wrong. Sorry. You're wrong. Off peak,
I hear it.
Nothing better. So my underrated is a jig, and my honorable mention is a spoon. And the only reason it's not primary is it's such a time-sensitive, technique-specific. You kind of got to really know what you're doing. But spoons are also very, very, very underrated. Flutter spoons.
Real quick for the spoon doesn't get a whole lot of love. That's for dang sure. When are you pulling out of the spoon? When are you pulling the spoon out?
As soon as I get an overnight low cooler than the day temperature.
Okay.
And as soon as the days start to shorten, like whether it could still be hot, it could be 95 degrees. As soon as the photo period starts changing and fish start thinking, man, winter's coming, fall's coming, I got to feed up. There's very few big bass that are going to overlook a slow falling, wobbling, wonky, goofy looking thing that looks like a free meal that actually made it through the school of all the schoolies that are up there busting these little pods of small, shad. So it just gets bit by big fish. You can cover a lot of water. And I'll tell you what else it is. It is a big bass revealer on forward-facing sonar. If you've got a big bass, what a lot of people don't realize is that in a brush pile, you might see 3 or 4 small bass up here hovering around it. But you do the right presentation and you'll see them little bass scatter, and then you'll just see this blob come up out of the brush pile. That lets you know that big bitch is there. So the spoon is a lot of times like the ultimate like recon bait. It lets you know, and then you look at your watch or you look at your feeding time and you say, okay, she's not ready right now, but I know she's here. I'm going to come back 30 minutes before the primary feeding time where the moon phase is right and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to put a glide bait above her, an underspin above her, a crankbait that I juice up to suspend above her. Right now, if you're not fishing a crankbait that you doctor to suspend, get your life right. Like I'm just trying to say,
get your life right. I love it. And Chad's gone.
And
those listening in, and I'm out. That was fun.
He didn't say, hold on 1 second. He just bailed.
No, he's going over to his wall of lures, which has a bunch of spin.
Get you these Storm suspend dots right here, and stick them on the belly of your crankbaits, especially your deep divers. Put a little bit of extra, overlap a couple close to the nose, and put a couple behind the belly, but you want it to be a little bit more concentrated, so I overlap those back too. Take a little bit of clear fingernail polish and just go over it so that the edges are kind of stuck down. Run that bitch down and run it into something and stop it. And it'll rear up like that, but then just sit there. Whereas if you just use a standard crate bait, most of them are designed to suspend at 70 degrees. So as soon as the water temperature is a little bit colder than 70 degrees, they ascend faster. So that right there, a little deep diver with a little bait, little something on the bottom right there, and do this to your square bills as well. So you can run that square bill into something. As soon as it hits and deflects, stop it. And it'll just kind of
stun.
Point. Oh, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those. Yep.
The floating sucks. The same with jerk baits. Anything that floats and pulls up just pulls it away from the fish. It's just not a natural.
And when you get these down to depth, like I said, they're keying on the bluegill, which is why I've got this more gold brown back color, right? It looks more like a bluegill than a shad. You can get that bitch to root, so you can bump it and stop it, and it just kind of sit there, bump. It literally looks like a bluegill feeding on the bottom. This does not look like a bluegill. Boom. And it's up out of the strike zone. It stays in the strike zone longer. You can stay at a controlled depth longer. And Wolf of Walmart said, does it affect the action? Yes. It adds a little bit more belly roll, and it keeps it from suspending up fast when you stop retrieving it. It doesn't affect the normal diving action, but it affects what all the lure does is action. So once you stop reeling it, it affects that action. It doesn't really affect, in my opinion, the roll or the cadence or any of that. If anything else, it adds a little bit to it because it's got that pendulum weight on the belly. So it creates a little bit more of a rock and roll, especially when it hits something. So yes, doesn't affect the action in a negative way at all, but it adds a couple of little subtle things to it that I think are positives, if that makes sense.
I like it. We're coming up on an hour. We got 66 live right now. If you haven't done so, please help us out. Hit the like button over there, wherever you're at, Facebook, YouTube. If you're wondering where all these comments are and you're sitting on like Instagram or anything like that, head over to the Wendell Fishing Live. That's where a lot of those comments are going to be sitting. It's where most of us hang out. All right, Chad, ready to switch gears? You got through all your awesome. All right. Underrated, overrated. I talked about a little bit earlier. Maybe something people are not incredibly familiar with, the ACA. And this is interesting because I had a buddy I was fishing with. He's like, hey, man, you want to make some extra money? You could like sign up and do the ACA route, which I have a little bit of knowledge about just because mostly because of you, Chad, and our time with some of the ACA members. And so I was like, oh, interesting. And then, of course, I shared with him about KFast and kind of what we were doing there. instead, and for the reasons why we're doing it. So give everyone, if they're maybe not sure what the ACA is, how long they've been around, your history with them, and an overrated, underrated score.
Okay, the ACA stands for American Canoe Association. I am actually an L2 instructor and for river, and I've got the kayak or the kayak fishing endorsement. Did that back in June on Lake Gunnersville. I'm going to do the pros and nos. Longest standing safety, competition, and insurance organization for paddle sports in the game. Pioneered a lot of the things that we have and enjoy in our world of paddle sports. Like most organizations that are tied to government funding and all that kind of stuff, they begin to add layers, which some of us feel is unnecessary. There's a word we often refer to called bureaucracy. I will say that the ACA is only underrated because we don't know about it as much as we should in the kayak fishing space. And then I'll turn around and say they're overrated because it's their job to make us know who they are, which is why we're launching a brand, KFAS, Kayak Fishing Advanced Safety Training. Not looking to displace or replace the ACA. In fact, spent about an hour and a half on the phone with the executive director of the ACA Friday. He agreed, at least in kind, to come on board with us for the No Wear, No Share campaign. I have to put it together in proposal format, which is, again, back to this bureaucratic thing. It should be like a hell yeah, I'll send it to my web person. We'll have it up today, that kind of thing. But I understand. They got procedures and policies and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes, being a loose cannon like I was with KBF for years, would have been nice to have a layer of like, whoa, slow down, dude. Kind of, maybe not. Maybe don't go live and say that, whatever. So I get it. But I think they're underrated in what they actually do, but I think they're overrated in that they are the premier paddle sports organization because they haven't gotten to the level of accomplishment that I feel like they need to in the space of kayak fishing. And we spend more days afield than anybody else in paddle sports in the whole world. We're just not their cup of tea, and we're not Olympic committee. We're not whitewater. We're not stand-up paddleboard. We're not all of these kind of things that fit more of their the things that they're familiar with, right? If we were going to stereotype a kayak fisherman, he would drive a pickup truck. He would have a gun or three that he owned readily available, probably in his living room, definitely in the bedroom. Listen to Southern rock, classic rock, country music, or at least America music, right? If I was to stereotype a standard ACA person, they're probably drinking craft beer, even though they don't know why, driving a Subaru, have an ankle bracelet, probably have one of them little toe rings, and probably wear a Patagonia sweater vest, even when it's kind of hot outside, just because it fits the part, kind of a deal. No, I'm just saying, I'm kidding. There's a merger that's happening, but I don't think the ACA is going to go far enough. So what we're going to use them for is a good foundation support for our instructor course so that we can take kayak fishing advanced safety training to the next level. So I think they're about right rated. I wish they would do more in kayak fishing. But I think they're number one in the world when it comes to paddle sports safety education for the disciplines that they are involved in. And right now there is a board movement. I actually just voted earlier today to get a SEIC, which stands for Specialized Education Information Council. Again, this is all that bureaucratic crap I'm talking about, to get somebody appointed to the board as a kayak fisherman. So then there's a voting category so that then you can add it. Again, it's just a lot. So to me, I want to be nimble and agile with KFast. And I want to be able to teach the things like motors and anchoring and treble hooks and the things that they're going to steer clear of. So I see them as a good complement to what we're doing. And I'm going to continue both through my fitness journey and through just my seeking out as much knowledge as I possibly can. So I can even make KFast better. But I'll be pursuing every level of certification that I can acquire through the ACA, both so that I have a voice in the ACA and so that I can give adequate feedback on how to improve the programs or take away what we want to add to our programs to make them better. And maybe we don't want all of that complication in our series. So it's going to be a really good juxtaposition for what we're trying to accomplish with what we're trying to do,
Yeah. So let me know if you're listening in right now live, if you have ever heard of the ACA before our talking about it tonight, and we'll circle back on that. Say yes, no, yes or no. We need to know. Chad, really quick, as I've been giving updates on the KFO show for quite a bit of time now. If you don't know, Chad and I are business partners on KFAST, Kayak Fishing Advanced Safety Training. We are getting ready to scale a pledge, nowhere, no share pledge, which we'll talk about as well. So I wanted to give you an update of kind of where we're at on that. Chad, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, so probably pushing 20 years, I've been saying nowhere, no share. There's hashtags usage that I've done 8, 10, 12 years ago. When I started going through my divorce and I started going through the personal stuff I was having, I avoided controversy or things that I had to fight with people about at all cost. So I got away from really pushing the PFD narrative as hard. That being said, I still did it. I got a video from, 10 months ago where the thumbnail is pretty freaking dumb. Like if you don't wear it, and I talk about how, even if you don't wear it for yourself, wear it for your family, because then you can have an open casket funeral and everybody gets to see your dumb ass one last time. If you don't, you're probably going to, end up crab food or, bloated. Because here's the thing, man, that people forget. As human beings, we don't float till we bloat when we die. I just want y'all to remember that. I did SAR, combat SAR. That flag right there is my search and rescue flag. Those fins on that wall over there are my reminder every day of where I spent my career before I came into this game and why I trained hard to be ready, right? And why I'm using that as motivation to get back to where I was. But I did way more search and recoveries than I did actual rescues. Probably pulled out over a 10-year career, probably 25, 30 people out of the water in various, domestic or international scenarios, and got a total of 6 rescues for like live people, right? So big difference, big 5 to 1. And I was one of the more active rescue swimmers. There's guys that go their whole career that never get an actual live rescue. And so way more death, way more hooking a guy up to a hoist and starting to hoist and he comes apart because he's bloated and deteriorating, and way more faces gone, way more rot, way more all of that. So even if you don't care about wearing it for yourself, wear it for your family, wear it for your friends, wear it for your people that you are in the kayak fishing space with, not having to stress out over looking for you for 4 or 5 days. Because I've heard this one. Oh man, what if I have an aneurysm? Just fall out the kayak. PFD ain't going to do me any good. No, but it's going to make it to where we don't have to look for your dumb ass for 4 or 5 days or wait for you to swell up and pop up, 60 miles down the river. Yeah. And your family will get closure, and you don't have a mom or a wife or a brother or a friend or all of the above that are stressed out for 3 or 4 or 5 days until they find you. So I'm going to get a lot more aggressive about policing myself in the nowhere, no share principle. I can tell you that for 15 years, when I see somebody starting to get some traction in social media and they aren't wearing their PFD in a fishing kayak, I'll call them up or I'll message them, DM them. Hey, can you give me a call? That way I'm not shaming them publicly. And I have a conversation with them. Hey, I'd love it if you would wear a PFD, and I'll buy you one and send it to you if you'll wear it. And then 95% of the time I get this, oh man, I'm only fishing in a foot of water. Yeah, it only takes a 1/4 inch to drown. I'm only fishing in this. Again, go back to the part about if you had an aneurysm or whatever, if you had a heart attack or a stroke or whatever, now it's easy to find your body, right? So every argument is too hot, it's too shallow, I'm a good swimmer, all of them are bullshit. They're all absolute garbage. Wear your PFD. Okay. And so the nowhere, no share thing is, we go fishing and we do these things for clout. We want to post our picture. We want to get the adulation and the clicks and the dopamine hit and the comments and all that. So if we can say, yeah, we're not doing that. If you're not wearing your PFD in your photos, then we provide an incentive to wear it. And we take a little bit of clout away if you don't. So that's what the nowhere, no share thing is. I want people to understand clearly it is not a shame people. It's not a shit on them thing. It's an encourage them to do it. Because if you polarize somebody so far that they just shut you down, they're never coming to your side. They're going to dig their heels in and I'm never wearing a PFD. You know what I mean? And they're influencing other people to do it. Because I think a lot of times when people are doing something that's not the norm, they look for other people to not do it so they can go, oh, cool, I'm not the only one. That guy also does it. And so the more we can make wearing the PFD the norm, the more it's not normal to not wear it. You know what I mean?
I just went through a situation like that out in Toledo Bend 2 weeks ago. We lost an angler out there, and a lot of people. He didn't have his PFD on, but the initial thought with everyone is we had storms that came through, and he didn't have his PFD on. Toledo Bend gets really rough. However, he didn't go out until after the storm, and something happened between when he left the boat ramp in a protected little bay with trees everywhere, tree stumps. He can swim just fine, according to his fishing coach I was speaking with, that he ended up in the water like 200 yards from the boat ramp with trees everywhere that he could have grabbed onto. Somehow he didn't have his graph off or anything, didn't have his cover off his graph, anything like that. So he didn't have his PFD on. Something happened where he ended in the water, and he can swim. And it's a protected area, so there's no big traffic. There's logs everywhere, all that.
I think Dina Outdoors had the best hypothesis. It makes the most sense. His battery wasn't on, wasn't turned on. Graph wasn't on. Cover was still on. No sign of a struggle. No flip. No nothing. Boat wasn't completely fully outfitted yet, and probably parked the boat. Didn't realize that a lot of the fingers of Toledo Bend, even though they don't have visible current, they have the draw current where the main river's got the current, and it'll create back eddies into these arms, and it'll kind of slow pull stuff to it. Probably set his boat down, went to park the truck or something, walked back over. Oh, shoot, boat's getting away. Decided to I just swim out there and grab it. It got further and further away, but now I'm committed. Get to the point where you hit that main current seam, sucks you under. Boat stops over here. You stop over there. Don't find you for a couple of days until you float up because, like I said, we don't float till we bloat. And, I'm not trying to dance on the kid's grave, and I feel for his mom. This is actually a big part of what we're doing. I watched his mom, plead with people to pray for her son and basically have her freak out moment out loud that I can completely understand. In fact, she handled it. Actually, Daren and I talked about this off the air. I don't think I could have handled it that well. No. I wouldn't even be posting on Facebook. My ass would be in a fetal position in a closet somewhere. But she had a very public, out loud tragedy. And even with the tragedy, well, one, if he'd have been wearing his PFD, it wouldn't happen. But if he had worn his PFD and still drowned, she wouldn't have been, in total anxiety and stress and all of that for 3 days or 4 days that it took to find him. You know what I'm saying? And, as bad as I hate to say it, this is human nature for what we do. We actually, a lot of people went and dug into his social media. And unfortunately, and again, I'm not trying to dance on the kid's grave or do anything other than hope that his death can be a symbol for saving somebody else's and a shining example of why we should push this harder is he not only didn't wear his PFD in a lot of his photos and videos, people would comment on it and he would be defiant back to them in comments like, yeah, I don't need a PFD, I can swim, or I don't need it, old man, or stuff like that. And unfortunately, that's the mindset that we have to overcome. Is that well, you can't put your seatbelt on after you start wrecking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to wear it. So just like that, you got to wear your PFD.
So Chad, with a 1 minute update, on KFast. Where are we at? I know a lot of people have been asking me, like, hey, I had someone wrote me yesterday, hey, when's this coming out? When's it coming out? It's going a lot slower than we hoped and anticipated. There's a lot of details when starting a business and creating a website and creating pledge pages and setting up LLCs and shooting, 9 videos and getting them edited. It is we running into, plus doing everything else we do as professional content creators. Where are we at?
Well, we're waiting on me. I had some issues last week with the truck and some other stuff. So every day that I had allocated, something happened, and then storms come in. And so I've got it planned to get it shot in the next day or two. My part of it, Austin will do the editing with your part that you've already shot. And then we're ready to roll. We're not going to continue to suffer from paralysis of analysis. And we've gotten probably 15 of the baddest mofos in the game to review this, to provide input. We've put it out to the Kayak Bass Fishing group to get people to review it. It's been about as vetted as we can get it, and it's going to be a living organism. It's going to grow and evolve as we go. I'm sure on day one, when we launch it and people sign up, somebody's going to call us and say, you know what you ought to have covered? And we're going to go, how in the absolute hell did we miss that? But it's going to be a real thing. And that's why it's going to be a for us, by us, through us, with us kind of a thing, instead of just a from us at you. So we're probably a week away from truly being able to launch it. The decals are on order for the basic and advanced. The decals are in the mail for the Nowhere No Share. And, Daren, you're doing most of the web work. Mark Fainer, who is the graphic artist and the partnership coordinator and club liaison for KFast, is finalizing all of the graphics pieces for social media sharing and all of that kind of stuff for our web pages. So I would say we're a week out. Do you think that's accurate?
I always say a week and it turns into 2.5, but yeah, hopefully
let's just hold ourselves accountable by putting down let's just say next Friday. We're going to have this shit up by next Friday. Because
do it.
If we don't set a deadline, we can keep on keeping on, chasing the piece of paper across the field instead of getting out bow and shooting the fucking paper, sticking it to the ground. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Get it down, baby.
Love it. All right, let's switch gears again. We're going to do kind of a faster round because we're at 1:15 right now. We'll land the plane probably 15, 20 minutes or so. And we got a variety of different things to talk about. Plus, wild card. Chad's got wild card. All right, Chad, there's a new kayak in town, kind of. The micro skiff by Crescent, the Crestcraft. Underrated, overrated. Let me bring this thing up real quick. Let me find it. Here it is. I got it. I got it. Have you seen it, Seth?
I have not. I've never heard of it either.
Never.
I just stay in my Hobie world.
Stay there right she is.
It's pretty.
The mini skiff, the micro skiff.
What's that middle thing? A piece of wood?
Yeah, it's just a piece of wood.
Casting deck. Seth, this would actually make a really good boat for like a ghost-written.
I see a little. You see his little smirk on his face before he even gets to what he's saying. He has a little smirk.
Yeah.
Like a storyline about being stranded at sea together on a really small boat, but then ending up at an island.
Love or something.
Yeah. You use this for your sustenance and ultimately paddle out to the Gulf Stream and go home.
I'm gonna have to hire you. I'm gonna have to hire you to write some of these novels, man.
It's a Christian novel, so it's like they're recording each other, and it was, yes, it was all that good stuff. Yep.
No. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's a cool boat.
All right. So to answer your question, I think it is going to end up being underrated. It's early because there's going to be so many people that go, that's not a kayak, just buy a boat, or whatever. So the kayak fishing police will come out and stamp it with, it's not a fishing kayak. Who cares? It's a boat. It's a kayak. It's a watercraft that's in our kind of space. To me, it's like a solo skiff, a Wilderness Systems Attack, an XTR, and a Crescent had a baby. Because this is not indicative of Crescent and things that they've done in the past.
No, this is out of
So to me, it's almost like this is a scenario where like Crescent was the sperm donor and the mom didn't know him. And then the kid come out looking like a certain way with the hair and the eyes and the, freckles. But everybody's like, whatever, where'd that come from? So unless you know the daddy, you wouldn't. To me, if I didn't have this labeled and I posted this image and said, who makes this? Crescent would be the last person that most people guess. It would probably be more of, you would get Solo Craft, you get Kaku before you would get Crescent. But to me, it kind of fits that James Durbecker lifestyle and what he kind of represents and talks about more than like some of his other watercraft even. So to me, it's that hybrid craft. It's that bridge gapper. It's got a lot of the pieces that I wanted to do with the Attack, with the split stern and moving the motor forward and some of those stuff that we just couldn't convince Confluence to do back in the day. So to me, I might be more excited about this watercraft than any other watercraft I can think of other than the XTR. But I want to see what this does to the comparisons, I want to see how this does in the world of real world application, side by side with the Solo Skiff and the XTR, because I think it's XTR-ish. I'm not saying there's any copying or any of that other shit that people like to throw out there that don't know what they're talking about. Oh man, that's just like the other boat. You mean it's plastic? It's fat in the back, pointed in the front. Yeah, you're right. It's got handles. Oh man, I got some handles from somebody else. So no, I'm excited about it. I think that it's one of the better launches that Crescent's done from a standpoint of graphics and video content and messaging. So now they just got to deliver. So I'm honestly pretty excited about this boat. I think it's going to do well. And I like the nod to motorization kind of built into the design. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong, but I want to talk to James about it from a standpoint of KFast and certifications and weight. And James and I've had some really good conversations about the whole weight capacity thing anyway. He's the only one on the market that doesn't put the kayak weight. He puts shot weight. He says, this is how much plastic we put in the mold. This is how much the hull weighs. All the other stuff is all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see how much they spec this out, how they market it, and then if it actually has a Coast Guard rating for gear, persons, and whatever, since it's being marketed and promoted with an outboard motor. So it'll be interesting. I think it's going to do well. I
think it's cool. What's its weight, Daren? What's a spec?
Let me see. It might be at the top. It is 119.
There's no way.
119. That's just plastic, right?
Yeah, that's resin weight. Shot weight.
It's resin weight, so it's not including all your hardware and crap.
On there? Yeah, that's 13.6, 39 inches. Unless it's going to be the Crackosaurus Rex, not 119 pounds. It's just physics. That's probably, like I said before, that's James Durbecker's thing, shot weight. So by the time you add the foot braces, the seat frame, the tracks, the traction pads, the motor brackets, all that kind of stuff, it's probably right there with the XTR. It's probably, same width, a little bit longer, a little bit narrower profile, doesn't have all them big decks and stuff in the front. I'd say it probably comes in 15, 20 pounds under the XTR just because it doesn't have all those decks. And, that deck system on the XTR is pretty heavy. It's probably 35, 40 pounds by itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about the price tag for it?
Right where it should be, honestly.
Right.
In fact, it's probably a little better than I expected. They could have probably eked out $28.99 and been right there in the same breath as the XTR, as the new FluxJet. You could buy the FluxJet for that same price, but get less boat. You still got to buy your own motor. Then you got to rig on your own. You got to rig up your own nav lights. But other than that, it's the same price. So, I think it's a good price. I would be surprised if they can sustain that price point, or they could be doing the thing where the prices $26.99. But if you want the traction pads, it's extra. If you want the deck, it's extra. Like
a la carted up.
It's really a la carted up. But again, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a home run, to be honest with you. There's nothing on the market that I think meets the needs and the requirements, especially if they're anywhere close to that weight, for the coastal market that does. You know what I mean?
All right. I like it.
Well,
all right, folks. If you have underrated, overrated for Chad, go and throw that in the comment section. We're going to move along to underrated, overrated fluorocarbon line. I've literally heard people tell me it's a scam. I don't believe you believe it's a scam. However, you utilize it in a way that you won't put full fluorocarbon on any of your reels, correct? You always go braided mainline 99% of the time.
I use fluorocarbon for winter cranking, deep diving, and I use it for jerkbait fishing. Some. If the braided line will freeze because it picks up water, then I'll go straight fluorocarbon. I've gotten to the point where I just ain't that mad at him anymore. So if braid's freezing, so am I. So my ass ain't fishing. But that'll be one of the few. And another one that I'll use straight fluorocarbon for is if I'm in a full-blown punching mode, like if I'm going to go to Florida, fluorocarbon goes through the grass better. You don't have the knot to catch on stuff. It slides over logs and wood and stuff better than braid does. So I'll go up to like 25-pound fluorocarbon for straight punching. But again, that's so rare that it probably isn't worth mentioning. I think the part where people start talking about fluorocarbon being a scam is where they think it's like automatically invisible. It's not. If you touch your face or touch anything and you get oil on your hands and you touch the fluorocarbon line, you just got rid of the properties that make it fluorocarbon. If you put any kind of scent, oils, hand, sunscreen, any of that kind of stuff on it, you got rid of all the thing that makes it more invisible. I also think it's always hilarious that when somebody talks about fluorocarbon and they even talk about tying it on to an Alabama rig, I'm like, oh, so let me get this straight. The fluorocarbon that's invisible goes to this head and has pieces of wire sticking out of it, but you're worried about the bass seeing the line? Shut the hell up. And then honestly, in Alabama rig fishing, I'll get rid of a leader and go straight braid so that I can pull that bitch out of a treetop or something if I hang it up and straighten the hooks out. So I don't want anything but braid for that, to be honest with you. So fluorocarbon gets a bad rap when people don't pay attention to what they're buying and they buy a fluorocarbon coated copolymer line and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's a really good deal.
Yeah, man, I'm cheap. I use that stuff. It's so cheap. If you see copolymer and it says fluorocarbon coated
super small, by the way.
That's monofilament and a dress. Trying to act like I did. It's not fluorocarbon. I'm a firm believer in fluorocarbon, but I also like monofilament for certain instances. Like for example, tonight I'm throwing wake baits. I don't like big fluorocarbon leader. I want my wake bait to have a little bit more, and I want to be able to stop it. And I don't want the line sinking. So when I start it back up, I got the line. So I'll go to 30-pound Berkeley big game. I don't want the moonlight to reflect on it. So I'll go to the green color. Like I'm anal about that kind of stuff. But when I'm frog fishing, heavy frog fishing, I'll go to Yozuri hybrid or Berkeley big game so that I get a little bit of stretch. I don't have to use as long a leader. And when I stop it, the line doesn't sink down below the surface and get caught up in the hydrilla and the lily pads. And the next time you go to raise your rod tip, the frog's going right because it's hooked up over here. And so I'll use a monofilament leader for that, a heavy monofilament. I want it to be buoyant. I want it to have a little bit of stretch to help me out with the hook set. I also want it to be, when I get that big sunrich to the boat, I can wrap my hand around that big mono instead of that braid that's going to cut my hand and, handle the fish easier at night. Other than that, I use braid to a fluorocarbon leader. So I'm a firm believer in good fluorocarbon. If you're going to buy fluorocarbon, you might as well just not.
Stay away from the vanish. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, something like that. Or
say it, Chad. I know you just filtered yourself, which is unusual for Chad Hoover, by the way. This is Chad filtering himself, which it's a rare occurrence.
Just read the fine print and make sure you're getting 100% true fluorocarbon, not getting that fluorocarbon coated crap.
Got it.
Go get some Tatsu.
And all this shit where people say fluorocarbon has no stretch.
What?
You buy into that marketing and then you buy it and it's got stretch and you're like, well, this is bullshit. Yeah, fluorocarbon's got stretch. It's got way less stretch than monofilament, but there's some stretch.
100%.
Like trying to act like there's no stretch is disingenuous and misleading.
Who's saying that?
Oh, bro, it's like when fluorocarbon first came out, they said fluorocarbon had no stretch, just like they do about braid. Then braid came along like, oh, well, actually braid's got no stretch. Fluorocarbon's got a little, and I don't see it as much, but it's still out there. It's still part of the narrative that fluorocarbon has, so I would say fluorocarbon has low stretch and monofilament. You might as well be fishing with a rubber band. I look back on the days of worm fishing with like a 1/4 ounce weight and a straight fluor or monofilament. And dude, you had to do that, like you had to do that crow hop where you reel down like, like that's where the stereotypical bass hook set comes from. Because you got to take the 18 feet of stretch out of your monofilament just to get the hook to move that far. So
I love it.
I use fluoro for just about everything other than punching and some top water stuff because it sinks. But
flipping over wood, fluorocarbon is the best because it comes over it. It's the most abrasion resistant. It doesn't dig in. It rolls over limbs and stuff. It doesn't wrap as tight as braid does, so it doesn't hang up as much.
I like it. All right, let's move on. I got a comment over here from Dustin Hoy. Hey, what about a good set of snips for cutting hooks? He says it because I was fishing with him yesterday. I pulled a Chapo out of the tree. It flew back into my shoulder, and the hook went through my skin past the barb, just on the velocity of ripping that thing out of the tree. So he had to snip it out, and we were on our way fishing. Wasn't that bad. But it went, literally, I just looked down, I'm like, oh, it's caught in my shirt. I go pull it out. I'm like, wait a second. It's got some meat. So got lucky.
At least it wasn't lucky on the other end of it. When the fish are on it,
Bubba's got the best mechanical hook cutters.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got it's a crimper, but it's got a hook cutter on it. And so it's got a double mechanical advantage. People don't realize, just push it through and cut the barb off. With what? Most people don't have the tool to cut a hook off on their kayak. Be honest with yourself before you go out there and say you're going to do it.
You absolutely need to have that.
For one, with a treble hook, you have a hard time getting it the rest of the way through. And then what are you going to do when you get it there? You're going to use your line clippers to clip a hook off? No.
It has saved me that one. Like I got a jerk bait in my hand that was connected to a bass. And if I had not had snips with me to snip the hook off away from the bass, I wouldn't have been able to get it out. Like it was in my thumb on a jerk bait connected to the bass. Like it's flopping around. There's no way I was pulling that out with the way it was all hooked in there. So if I did not have those snips, I would have had to go, I don't know where I would have went, 3 miles to go get someone to get, I don't know. So yeah, it saved me.
I carry the snips. I see a lot of dehookers in the comment section. Dehookers are great, but if it's past the barb, you don't want to go ahead and rip that thing back through your skin.
Yeah, you do. That's what the dehooker does. It pushes it down.
Yeah.
You can pop it
after
out.
the barb's already come through. I'm snipping that hook before I pull the hook back through my skin.
If the barb comes back out already?
Yeah, it came already back out.
If it already came back out, yeah.
Well, in that case, you've already torn the whole channel. Just man up and pull it back through.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
No thanks.
No
thanks. True Crimson's over here. Brings his Leatherman. I love it. All right, switch gears here. We're coming to land this plane a little bit. We only got 3 more left, plus the wild card. So, Chad, what's fall sale these? What's fire sale these? All right, Camino Journey New Fleet. Underrated, overrated.
Pass.
When does Chad Hoover pass to talk about anything? Seth, this is history. We'll write this in the history books. Chad passed on giving his opinion. Why pass, Chad? I'm gonna pull it out of him.
If I talk about why I passed, did I really pass?
All right, give me the teaser version. We'll circle back.
How about pause instead of pass until it's a real thing? Right now, it's pie in the sky. It's conjecture. I've seen some designs. I've seen some AI generated stuff. I haven't seen it on the water. How about we just pause until it's real?
All right, we'll circle back. I'm supposed to be getting one, so maybe Chad, when you come up here, we'll both get in that bad boy and take it for a spin. I like it.
I just don't like commenting on stuff. I see all these pros that are giving their opinion on something and like, well, how did it paddle? Oh, I've never paddled it. Well, what did you like about the seat? What was your favorite? Oh, I've never sat in it. You got all these opinions about something. You never seen it. You never sat in it. You never paddled it. You know, one of the things I pride myself on is I don't offer my opinion on stuff for the most part, which is why I was a little dodgy with the Flux Jet until I've sat in it, right? Until I've tried it, until I've used it. You know, I can give you my opinion about the Crush Craft and the Flux Jet and all that kind of stuff because they're real. They exist. I've seen videos of them. I can look at the water coming off the hull and tell you about performance, right? I've got that experience that I haven't seen the Camino in real anything other than like AI generated videos and mock-ups and CAD drawings turned into graphs. Like that boat I made for Seth. While that video, remember Seth, that while y'all were doing that live stream, I designed him a boat and sent it to him specifically. So until it's real,
we'll hit the pause button.
Hit the pause button. We'll circle back. To be continued.
Oh, I had a bunch of people earlier. I asked them the question, hey, let me know if you've ever heard of the ACA. And I never circled back to it. So really quick, wow, there's a lot of comments that took place between that conversation and now. We have let's rip through them. We have no from Fish, Forage, Off-Road, no from Jeff, yes from Kobe, no from John Long, yes from Seth, no from Johnny, yes from True Crimson, no from Scott, no from Travis, yes from Marty, no from Squirrel.
So at least 50-50, which means...
No, actually more no's. I'd say 60-40 based off of those whose answers.
Well, I said at least 50-50, so that means 60-40 is not.
No, it's at least. If you haven't done so yet, we got 60 live right now. Hit that like button. I know that we got people coming in and out of the show tonight. 2 more for you, Chad. Then the wild card, underrated, overrated Crocs. The footwear Crocs.
On boat ramps or outside boat ramps?
On boat ramps.
Underrated for just casual wear because there's stigma that and I wrote a really good joke about this about 15-20 years ago when it first came out that I cannot tell on this live stream. I can only tell it in quiet.
I'll hit the explicit button if you do.
Mostly people who have been in the military or at least have a thick skin. Underrated for just life casual wear. Definitely overrated for being worn in the outdoors. I dodged a bullet wearing my PFD. It actually saved my ass on the boat ramp. If I didn't have it on, I would have busted my grate bigger than Dallas because the back of the PFD actually protected me. Definitely underrated for casual wear and something that you can just use to like slippers, but overrated to get lazy and try to actually use them in the outdoor environment like I have been for the last couple of years because I got old and fat and my feet swelled and I just got used to not wearing real shoes. And I spend a lot of time barefooted. So I like to wear Crocs so that when I get into the boat, I can just take my shoes off and fish barefooted, but I can do that with a regular shoe as well. So definitely underrated for life quality, slippers, casual wear, and then overrated for practical application in the outdoors.
All right. I've never actually owned a pair of Crocs. Seth?
I have Cross Kicks.
Okay, much different.
They
got like a rubberized sole, correct?
Yeah, they're similar.
Don't you have to say Cross Kicks with a lisp though? Don't you have to say I've got Cross
Kicks? I don't know, man. I won those in a couple events. So I mean, I like them. Those are cool, but yeah, they can get slick. I mean, I use mine. It'd be the same situation as Chad. They're easy to slide on if you're just going outside and doing stuff. You just have them by the door, and your feet are ventilated. The water comes out of them and stuff. But yeah, they're not great for the outdoors.
I just got my Rocky No Wakes in the dry strikes. Those things are real nice.
They're the bomb.
The rubberized bottom of those things are sick.
And I got to say, Daren, I know you've never owned Crocs before, but that's because you wear those shoes. And like, I used to be a dealer for that brand, for Chaco.
Chaco. Yeah.
And they're cool. But for me, the wearing that thing that goes around your toe is like wearing a turtleneck. I can't wear a turtleneck because one, I got like a short neck, but I got like a fat neck. And wearing a turtleneck to me feels like I'm being like just slightly choked all the time by like what the comedian Mitch Hedberg said. I'm being choked by a really weak guy. Like, I can't wear that. And so for me, that capture your big toe in a shoe
that's only on one of the models.
Is the footwear version. It's the footwear version of wearing a turtleneck. Can't do it. And and if they made them in men's, I might have tried them, but I just couldn't.
Yeah, I get it.
It's pretty sweet that your wife lets you wear her shoes. I mean, I think
there's one person on this podcast who's fallen on their butt at a boat ramp for millions to see, and there's someone who hasn't fallen in Crocs on a boat ramp for millions to see.
Two of us.
So, two of us, actually.
Well, I mean, I kind of get credit for that because I told you not to do it, and I set the example. You were just about to do it. I'm just saying. You just don't know.
You did. It could have been me, except I was already in the water, and my Chaco saved me from falling. So that's actually not true. Moving on to the last one. And then the wild card, underrated, overrated, paddling. And I'm not talking about like spanking. I'm talking about paddling your kayak. Yeah, underrated.
You should paddle. You should learn how to paddle. I don't think you need to ride a horse to learn how to drive a car, but you should know how to paddle. You should have a paddle. And, I even give my thick-headed son over there a lot of grief about putting his paddle in the back of the boat broken apart. There's going to come a time where you're sitting in a channel and your motor stops working or whatever, and you need your paddle and you ain't got the ability to, I don't care how agile you are, crawl to the back to get your two pieces and put them together before your ass gets run over by a boat. So learn how to paddle, have that paddle readily available. And honestly, it's also stealthier than if you're getting blown into a bank and you turn your motor on to keep you away from the bank, you're spooking big fish. So to me, that paddle is way stealthier, and it allows you got to have it for a river. You got to have it in shallow water. So you might as well just have it all the time, readily accessible and available. And paddle, learn how to. Definitely underrated, something that every kayak fisherman should have in their skill set.
And actually, one of the courses in our basic kayak fishing advanced safety training is basic paddle strokes. So coming to a course near you. All right. Wild card. Land the plane. Chad, what's this wild card you don't want to tell us about at the beginning of the show?
So I'm having some fun with AI, but I'm not going to be dependent on it. I'm just going to have a little fun with it.
So we know, Chad. We sold the manatee.
Y'all bear with me for a couple of little things that I'm getting off my chest, and after that, I'll go back to just normal stuff. It'll make you lazy because you can sit there and not even go make content. You could just type into AI to make a video for you, and we're going to turn into the people from the movie Idiocracy that the Crocs were invented for if we don't start getting away from some of that. But anyway, here's the hot topic, wild card, whatever you want to call it. Social media. We make our living on social media. So I'm going to sound like a bit of a hypocrite here when I say what I'm about to say. Get off of it some. Stop being in this pressure cooker of this thing we've created where you're Pavlov's dog, and every time that burp happens, you got to look, and you get anxiety because you can't. And don't feel compelled to comment on everything. There's a such thing as shutting the up. You don't have to actually have an opinion about everything. The Russians have this thing where we think of being silent as like passive. I spent some time in parts of Russia during one of my soirees into that part of Europe and some of the missions that I was doing, back when I did some of that stuff, right? And I got to hang out with some Russian dudes, some Kazakhstan, some Dagestani people, some stuff like that. And they have this principle of, and I don't know how to translate it exactly, and I don't even know how to say it without practically embarrassing myself, but what it means in direct translation is active silence. You are choosing not to speak. That is not passive. That is active. You are embracing the silence, meaning I am choosing not to speak. That is my response. We think of not speaking as not a response. They think of not responding as the response. And it's a powerful thing when executed properly. So here's why I want to get on the soapbox just a little bit. You know, back in the day when there were forums, you signed up for a forum, you got approved, you went in there and there were threads and there were things that you talked about. And we all followed our interest, right? What we've ended up creating is based on our search activity, we develop a profile. So they serve us the stuff that they think we're going to click on, and the algorithm learns you. Okay. Then what happens is they develop a profile for you and they go, ooh, what is not normally something this person would look at that I can serve to them that will trigger them? And whether you feel the strings or not, there's a puppet master that's got that little thing that's doing this, and you are being puppeted. You're being coerced and triggered into commenting on shit you know nothing about. You have an opinion on something because somebody told you what your opinion was, and you're regurgitating it as the gospel. I don't get into politics and commenting on political stuff because I don't have the time, effort, or energy to actively research shit to make sure I'm not talking out my ass, left, right, or in the middle. But that is way too uncommon that we don't take that time. So back when we had forums, you didn't have vegans that signed up for a meat eater forum, and you didn't have meat eaters that went over to vegan forums to just shit on what the other person believed. But with these new algorithms, you get served either the things you really love or the things you really hate. And I want you to ask yourself, why did someone put that in front of you if that is not your interest-based? Social media is interest-based, okay? They put it in front of you to trigger you. They put it in front of you to activate you. They put it in front of you to make you respond. You're a puppet. Because if you didn't come up with the idea on your own, you're a parrot. You're regurgitating something somebody else told you to regurgitate. And we do it on both sides. So a lot of my conservative friends are like, oh, liberal this and liberal that. And a lot of the conservatives are like, oh, right wing this and right wing that. We're both guilty of it. We're both puppets. There's an old analogy about the black ants being put in the jar with the red ants, and they just live harmoniously. They just interact. But as soon as you shake the jar, the black ants attack the red ants, and the red ants attack the black ants, because it's human nature to think the thing that's wrong is the person that doesn't think like you's fault. So therefore, they're the enemy. So we got to ask ourselves, it's not a red ant thing. It's not a black ant thing. It's a who's shaking the goddamn jar. And stop being a worker ant for something that you don't research, something you don't spend any time getting data about, and don't be a mouthpiece for narratives that divide us. I can't tell you how many people that were friends of mine that are reaching out to me because they say, we want to force your opinion on something. Oh, you got to weigh in on this. You're being complicit if you're not commenting. No, I'm not. You got to use your platform for this or use your platform for that. I'm going to finish with this. I'll summarize it pretty quick because I have been conflicted. I've reached out and sought counsel from really smart friends of mine. Should I be doing this? Like, to the point that I felt like guilty that I'm not engaging in it because I'm not a good citizen and I'm not a good this and I'm not a good that. Here's the thing. When you see hypocrisy, like people in the NBA saying, I've got to use my platform for this because I owe it to my, no, you have people that follow you because you play basketball and you're good at it. They followed you for basketball. They get work and problems and life stressors all day long. They want to turn on a basketball game and get away from all that. They don't want to have another thing forced in their face that they can't escape from. Because if we don't have escapes from some of this toxicity, we're going to have more and more people shooting each other, more and more people attacking each other, more and more people hating each other, and the divide's going to get bigger and bigger. So I got two challenges for you. One, turn your fucking phone off every now and then, if only for a couple of hours, to just prove you're not addicted to the damn thing. You're mainlined right now into the heroin of The dopamine hit of responding and commenting and re-responding and re-commenting. Stop, back up, breathe, go fishing. And here's the thing. Start thinking things through critically and ask yourself, why does that person think that if I disagree with it? And put yourself in the position of trying to understand it before you put yourself in the position of just being a parrot or a puppet to repeat it. And this ain't a left thing or a right thing. It's a middle, it's a everything thing. It's by design that we end up where 1,000 liberals are trashing people in the comment section of a conservative forum and vice versa. That didn't happen when there wasn't an algorithm controlling us. You had to go actively seek those things out. Now it's being force fed to you. And when you react to it, don't be surprised when you get more of it.
So Chad, appreciate you saying those things. You mentioned something at the beginning where you talked about AI. Maybe goofing around with AI. And I actually did a video at the beginning. Here, let me share it with you. At the beginning of this year, I had a good conversation with Alex Rudd. And I was like, oh, that's a really great conversation. I'm going to do a video on it. So I did a video called How AI Will Destroy Bass Fishing. Oh, sorry. For those of you listening, and I got to take off that. There we go. There it is. Didn't do wildly great, probably because not a lot of people are thinking about it. But I had conversations with you, and as you'll see in this video that I think went live 8 months ago. That there's going to be a point, and it's going to be relatively soon, where AI meets forward-facing sonar, and it is going to be. I think it's going to be wild, and I think it's going to be within 5 years. So we've had a brief conversation about it, and I could tell you've been thinking about it, probably had conversations with other people about it as well. But there is a day, I believe, where you don't even have to be a good fisherman. If you can pay to play, you could buy the unit, go to any body of water, click a button, and it'll motor over for you, tell you what to catch, what to throw, where to throw, in what. It's going to be synthesizing all this information that it's pulling from the internet, synthesizing information where people post their catches, and just all that data that comes along with that, the moon phases, where fish should be when they're spawning, all that stuff, everything. It's going to be synthesizing this information, coalescing it into telling you exactly to do what to do in that one moment. Once AI meets the technology of forward-facing sonar, and by the time we get there, how much forward-facing sonar has come in that amount of time as well. Your thoughts? A true threat?
So I retired from the Navy 13 years ago, and halfway through my career, there was advanced targeting for radar systems on airplanes that thought for the pilot. When you see movies like 5th gen fighter, this generation, all that kind of stuff, and you watch these aircraft that the weapon system with two things going at Mach something, or a small subset of Mach, and then the radar is calculating not where that aircraft is, but based on predictive modeling of its travel course and where it's at in your travel course and where you're headed, offering targeting solutions for an airplane that's going 1,000 miles an hour. Well, that's radar based. Sonar is underwater radar. We're this close to. You have a forward-facing sonar that instead of having to use a foot pedal to keep up with it or turn the thing to keep up with it, you go to the graph and select a fish and put active track, and it follows it. We're this far away from it evaluating the behavior of the fish based off of behavioral models and suggesting to you what you do, speeding up. You can have a bitch. We call it bitch and Betty in aircraft. It tells you what to do. We're this close to having a bitch and Betty in your boat that tells you, slow down, speed up. Oh, let your bait fall. Like it's going to coach you on what to do. You can put an earbud in so your buddies don't know about it, and you're You're out there being told what to do. Here's where the hypocrisy of the whole thing comes into play, though. And this is why Randy, blah, 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 block it, is the biggest hypocrite in the game. Because if he really believes the shit he's spewing, if he really believes the hot air that he's pushing past his nose for anything other than getting views, he will understand that the waypoints and the shit that he's selling on the internet is more detrimental to the future of fishing than forward-facing sonar is, because as soon as they decide to take that data, harvest it, put it into an algorithm to take that last step of finding the fish away, that's when forward-facing sonar really becomes a problem. Because right now, it ain't a problem. You got to go out there and learn it. You got to use it. You got to find it. It's not this damn cheater box like people think it is. But when you got people like Randy and like what they're doing with Deep Dive and like what they've been doing with Fish the Moment for all these years, putting these lake breakdowns out there with all the waypoints in it, all these companies got to do is aggregate that, put it in, and go to a boat ramp, hit up your contour sync, hit up your predictive modeling, and you could literally say, go find me fish. You can say, I only am interested in fish over 4 pounds, and it could have predicting modeling that tells you that. The AI will take forever to learn that if it doesn't have the other side of the equation, the waypoints and the spots. And so to me, the thing that's the most dangerous, and the part that I'm even fearful of a little bit with whole catch, photo, release thing, we're creating a hell of a lot of data that it can be very, very lucrative for the companies that own that shit to one day say to a graph company, hey, I can sell you all this, the day it was caught, where it was caught, the time it was caught, all that stuff. And then you can synthesize that into programmatic predictive modeling. And then on top of that, it learns while it's out there. That's when we're going to have real cheater boxes, is when you have a boat that navs you to the spot, scopes the spot, doesn't find a fish, and just navs you on to the next spot.
Yeah.
So
I got a couple comments over here. AI is only as good as the data that's trained you on. You're spot on. That data is and will be available. It's not like it's not there. I mean, you might have to buy it. These companies might have to buy into it, but it's not it's in existence.
I'm going to say this one more time. 20 years ago, we had radar systems that would take 2 airplanes flying at different speeds in different directions, and I could shoot a missile and it would tell it where to go to find that other target. And I'm not talking about heat sinking or tracking or any of that, just actual targeting data from a weapon system. That was AI. That is AI. It's artificial intelligence. It's predictive modeling. We just named it something new now. The danger isn't the software. It isn't the system. It's the amount of information that it's fed. So to me, that's why it's such a hypocritical thing for Randy Blockett to have 1 foot on this soapbox, but be over here as a snake oil salesman. Hey, get your waypoints. Get your waypoints over here, guys. Get your waypoints. Come by my lake breakdown. I'm going to tell you where to go, when to go, how to go on a lake. So if you truly believe forward-facing sonar is as bad as it is, you just told the people where the field is that the big deer are going to be in so they can go shoot them with a scope at night. Because don't they call, cheater box fishing night hunting? Well, you just told them what field they're going to be in and where to go shine their light. Stupid.
Here's a comment for you.
That's the biggest problem.
So here's an interesting comment, and I want to answer it, but I want you to answer it. Yes, this is from Fish Forage Off-Road, and we just had Trevor on the show. Yes, it can come, but how many would want it?
There'll be some. There'll be a market for it.
I think anybody who wants to catch, who works all week long and wants that release on the weekend, or is going out with their buddies and wants to flex a bit, or is caught up in the social media, putting up big fish. It's the same reason why people try to snag big bass, why people got in trouble for it in the past, for the accolades. As long as you have that type of person out there, I think there'll always be a market for this.
Now, let me tell you where I diverge from everything I just said, and where I take solace in knowing that the world adjusts. Mother Nature's undefeated, right? Feeders used to be an automatic deer. Trail cameras used to be an automatic deer. All that stuff, right? These animals learn. I used to pull up over a treetop with 2D sonar, and I could jig a fish and watch it eat it. Old 2D sonar. DSI came out. It was, oh my God, it's the next level. My dumb ass used to take a flounder gigging pole, put a transducer on the end of it, and I would go like this and scan docks. I was actually forward-facing sonar and didn't even know it, and was too stupid to realize, holy crap, this is something that could be marketed. I just thought it was like, I'd look and go, oh, they're on that leg. And then I would fish that leg, so it saved me some time, but I never thought of using it as like the way to always fish. So I'm dumb in that regard. So there's a lot of people that want a certain amount of mystery. They want a certain amount of stuff, but it's like the difference between natural athletes and people who use steroids. You know, I need to get to a certain level. I can't get there naturally. So there's always going to be that. But here's the wild card that people aren't thinking about. If I go DSI a treetop, just on Hero Lake over there where you went after the knucklehead 2 years ago.
Yep.
If I DSI a treetop, the first time I go over it, looks like a Christmas tree and it's loaded with crappie. If I sit on it, it slowly but surely deteriorates. I'm radiating them with that sonar signal, and they feel it and they take off or they start to leave. If I pass over it 2 or 3 times, it's down to a few specks and those fish are scattered. There will come a time with forward-facing sonar, if it gets too good, that you'll just have jackasses out there chasing fish, because they're going to get to the point where when they feel that radiation from that sonar beam, they're going to take off like a scald dog. And I'll tell you why. Historically, pre-forward-facing sonar, you catch a fish out of a school, you put it in your live well, right? You run it to the thing. The fish that felt the thing that would have let it know something's wrong got taken out of the school, right? So it didn't go back and educate the school. It's like the smart old hen in turkey hunting. That one old hen that's coming in who's looking around while the other bitches got their heads down, and you like wrinkle your face and she sees you, locks in, and she spooks all the other turkeys, right? You're systematically taking those fish out one at a time with traditional fishing, and you're probably putting them in a live well. But with things like Major League Fishing and things like pre-fishing, where a guy will get on a school of fish and he catches one and he goes, oh, that's a 3-pounder. Let me see if I can catch another one. And now he's able to stay on that school and catch every freaking fish in the school. Now you don't got one old smart hen, you got 20 of them. So the next time that school of fish is out there, they don't know what it is for sure, but they know the last time they felt that, they got their damn head jerked sideways, and some redneck and thing was like, oh, and looking at the face and all that shit. And it was an abduction. They got abducted. They were down there telling their buddies, man, there was bright lights everywhere, and there was a fat guy, and he had a damn beard, and
eating manatees.
So the thing is, we're educating these fish in a wolf pack mindset in a way that we never have before. And so to me, at least the part that I use in my brain is to say, I'll always be able to find water that you can't get to with forward-facing sonar, and I'll always be able to find water that forward-facing sonar wouldn't work in. And then creeks and rivers and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
But even on big lakes and things like that, I just think eventually, unless you kill that fish and take it out and don't let it go back, you're educating the shit out of that school. And Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature do. She's going to survive, just evolve, and we're going to have these damn superfish that just get real freaking hard to catch. And then the pendulum will swing back the other direction. And those that kept learning how to fish and fished without it and all that stuff will continue to find success, and the other ones will have a really expensive boat ride.
There you go. You got a comment over here. Colin B. Baston said one dude on Greg Blanchard's video chased a bass for 15 minutes with FFS.
Oh, that's
me.
Hey,
that was probably me. That was probably in the background of his video in Toledo Bend, zooming around.
What do you think the longest like one-on-one duel you've had with a bass on forward-facing sonar is?
Are you chasing a bass that's running, or
How long have you worked a specific fish? What's the? After about 4 or 5 casts, I'm done. Right, but in the beginning, have you worked a bass for? An hour. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I've watched him spend an hour just going
around,
like just getting. But that fish is just frustrating him, and so 15 minutes is nothing. I've seen guys spend hours working a fish. You know what's kind of funny is it's like bed fishing.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm about to say.
I've seen guys spend 3 hours bed fishing on a fish ain't gonna eat. Like, first of all, bro, I can see 3 red marks on the side of her face. She's already been hooked like 3 times this week. Secondly, the sun angle's wrong. This is wrong. Her body language is telling you she's not going to eat, but they'll stand there and break their back and get their neck muscles all sore and their back spasms going, trying to focus on this fish. And I think the same thing is going to happen with forward-facing sonars, underwater sight fishing.
I love it. Well, folks, we cracked the 2-hour mark. So thank you all for listening and staying with you. If you haven't done so, hit the like button. Of course, you know where to find Chad, kayakbassfishing.com. It's going to be kfast.co. You can take the pledge here in a week or 2 on nowhereNoshare.com. By next Friday, nowhereNoshare.com. Take the pledge. We're going to have decals, all that fun stuff. But next week on the KFO show, we have cash and rods. So that's going to be a good time.
Daren,
but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Didn't you have a giveaway?
Oh, yeah. We'll give that away real fast. Here, let me second. Let me see who we got. Now, we don't have a lot of people signed up for it. So, but that's makes sense, being that you have to kind of live in Michigan in order to do it. So
when you just insulted all 6 Californians early on too. So
that's fine. I'm okay with that. So we're gonna there's 6 people in this bad boy. So we're gonna give away 2 of these, and let's go get this party started. You got really good chances right now. Real good chances.
Almost 1 in 6.
Almost. Let's see who got it. What? His name's literally SoCal Fishman.
Maybe he's going to be in Michigan.
Yeah, I did say if you're going to be in Michigan, maybe he couldn't help himself by typing in
you almost
Chad sucks at fishing.
You can't script that any better.
I know, right? So SoCal Fishman, I need you to write me. Maybe he has family in Michigan. Maybe he grew up in Michigan. I don't know.
I'm from Southern California.
Reach out to me, brother. I'll get you connected. I'll send this out in the mail for you so you have a good time. By yourself, with your family, I don't know. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's run it again. Odds just got better because SoCal Fishman's out of the competition. And we have CH Outdoors. All right. Reach out to me. You Chad can reach Hoover. Out.
Like you got lucky with it's the CH. It's like Chad Hoover. My initials. I mean, it was distant. And you just overlooked that SoCal guy was a freaking Marine with the whole Semper Fi thing on. You didn't think him for a service. You didn't do any of that. Come on, Daren.
I can barely read it.
And here's what I'll recommend. I recommend that you go to like Walmart or like Staples or somewhere like that and get a nice box of crayons and include it when you ship it to SoCal Bassin, because if he's a Marine, he loves crayons. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Wolf of Walmart says, I hate Cali. I don't hate Cali. I used to work for a company out in California. It's a beautiful place. I just never want to live there, to be honest with you. I'll come and visit from time to time. That sounds like a good time. All right, guys. Special thanks to Dark Horse Tackle bringing you the show tonight. Thank you so much. And also, I will see you next Tuesday night, Seth and I, on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed Podcast. We got Cash and Rods on. See you next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Chad. You guys have a good one.